The day I forgave my mom, I stood alone in her kitchen, staring at the chipped teacup she used every morning. It was raining outside, a soft drizzle that tapped the window like a whisper, and the house smelled of her lavender soap. She was upstairs, napping, unaware of the weight lifting off my heart. "I'm not angry anymore," I whispered to the empty room, my voice barely louder than the rain. I'd carried the hurt for years, her absence, her choices, the way she built a new life without me. But in that quiet moment, I let it go. I didn't tell her. I couldn't. The words felt too heavy, too tangled in years of silence. Instead, I washed her teacup, set it on the drying rack, and smiled through the ache. That day, I chose forgiveness, not for her, but for me. Pause for reflection. Gentle piano fades in, soft and mournful. Imagery, rain-streaked window, a lone teacup on a counter, dim kitchen light. My name is Laura, and I grew up in a small house at the edge of a sleepy town. It was just me, Mom, and the hum of a life that felt both full and empty. Our home was cozy but worn, faded curtains, a couch with sagging cushions, and a backyard where dandelions grew wild. Mom, Diane, was a seamstress, her sewing machine humming late into the night, stitching dresses for neighbors to pay the bills. She had a laugh that could light up a room, but it came less often as I got older. Dad left when I was 3. I don't remember him, just vague shapes in old photos, him holding me, smiling, before he walked away. Mom never talked about him, and I learned not to ask. "We were a team," she'd say, "just the two of us against the world." She'd braid my hair before school, her fingers quick and gentle, humming old songs. At night, we'd eat spaghetti at the kitchen table, sharing stories about her quirky clients or my day at school. Summers were my favorite. We'd walk to the park, pushing a cart with lemonade and cookies to sell to joggers. I'd run through the grass, chasing butterflies, while Mom watched, her eyes soft. "You're my sunshine, Laura," she'd say, tucking a dandelion behind my ear. Those moments felt like love, pure and simple. But even then, I felt her distance sometimes. She'd stare out the window, lost in thoughts she never shared. I'd ask, "What's wrong, Mom?" And she'd smile, say, "Just tired, sweetie," and change the subject. I was too young to understand, but I felt the weight of something unspoken. School kept me busy. I loved books, losing myself in stories of far-off places. Mom came to every school play, clapping loudest when I took my bow as a tree or a villager. She'd hug me after, her perfume wrapping me like a blanket. But by middle school, things shifted. She started working longer hours, taking on more clients. Dinners became quick sandwiches, our talks shorter. I'd find her asleep on the couch, needle still in hand, TV static buzzing. High school brought more changes. I joined the debate team, made friends who filled the house with chatter. Mom seemed happier when they were around, laughing at their jokes. But alone with me, she was quieter. I'd catch her reading letters from someone, quickly tucking them away when I walked in. "Old friend," she'd mutter, but her eyes looked guilty. When I was 16, she met Richard. He was a mechanic, gruff but kind, with a truck that rumbled like thunder. They met at the diner where Mom grabbed coffee between jobs. She came home one night, cheeks flushed, saying, "He's different, Laura. Steady." I smiled, happy for her spark, but something in me tightened. Richard started coming over, fixing things, a leaky pipe, a squeaky door. I liked him, but his presence changed our rhythm. Mom spent weekends at his place, leaving me with leftovers and a note, "Back Sunday, love you." I'd nod, say it was fine, but the house felt too big without her. Transition. Soft strings join piano, warm but tinged with sadness. Imagery, a dandelion in the grass, a half-eaten plate of spaghetti, fading sunlight. The shift was slow, like seasons blending. Mom and Richard got serious fast. By my senior year, they were engaged. I was happy for her, she deserved love, but I missed our old life. Dinners were now at Richard's house, with his 2 kids, Jake and Mia, from his first marriage. They were younger, loud, always fighting over toys. Mom would mediate, Her patience endless for them, but I felt like a guest. I'd try to talk to her, just us. Can we do a movie night? I'd ask, remembering our old tradition of popcorn and comedies. Soon, Laura, she'd say, but soon never came. Richard's family filled her time, barbecues, school events for his kids, trips to his parents' lake house. I was invited, but it felt like an afterthought. Come along, Mom would say, but her focus was on Jake's soccer games or Mia's dance recitals. I threw myself into school. Debate tournaments kept me busy, and I stayed late to study. Friends noticed I was quieter. Everything okay? They'd ask. I'd nod, smile, say, just busy. But at night, alone in my room, I'd stare at the ceiling, wondering why Mom felt so far away. College acceptance came, a small school 2 hours away. I was excited, but telling Mom felt strange. She hugged me, said, I'm so proud, but her eyes drifted to Richard, who was planning their wedding. The ceremony was small, in a garden, with Jake and Mia as ring bearer and flower girl. I stood by Mom, my dress itchy, smiling for photos. But inside, I felt like I was losing her. I moved to college, my dorm tiny but mine. Mom called sometimes, but conversations were rushed. Mia's got a cold, or Richard's working late. I'd share my classes, my new friends, but she seemed distracted. Visits home were awkward. Richard's house was their home now, not ours. My old bedroom was a guest room, my books packed in boxes. One Christmas, I came home to find Mom had adopted Jake and Mia officially. They're my kids now too, she said, beaming. I nodded, but it hurt. She hadn't asked me, hadn't warned me. I felt replaced, like my place in her heart was shrinking. Transition. Piano slows, strings deepen. Imagery, a dorm room with unpacked boxes, snow outside, a silent phone. Tensions grew quietly. I'd call, ask about her day, but she'd talk about Jake's grades or Mia's new hobby. I tried to share my life, my first college boyfriend, a tough exam, but she'd cut in with, oh, Jake did that too. I'd bite my lip, say, that's great, but resentment simmered. One summer, I came home for a month. Mom was planning a family trip with Richard and the kids. Come with us, she offered, but I declined. I wanted time with her, not a crowded van. Instead, I stayed at our old house, now rented out, helping the new tenants with small fixes. Alone, I found an old photo of me and Mom at the park, laughing. Tears came, unbidden. Back at college, I focused on studies, graduated with honors. Mom came to the ceremony, Richard and the kids in tow. She hugged me, said, you did it, Laura. But at dinner, she talked mostly about Mia's ballet. I smiled, nodded, but felt invisible. After college, I got a job teaching at a local school. I rented a small apartment nearby, hoping to rebuild with Mom. But she was deep in her new family. Jake's soccer, Mia's recitals, Richard's work events. I'd invite her for coffee, but she'd cancel. Mia's sick. Or Richard needs me. I stopped asking. Transition. Strings swell, tinged with loneliness. Imagery, a classroom with colorful posters, an empty coffee mug, dusk falling. The breaking point came when I was 25. Mom had a health scare, a fainting spell that landed her in the hospital. I drove 3 hours to be there. Heart pounding. She was fine, just dehydrated, but the scare shook me. I stayed by her bed, holding her hand, like when I was a kid and she'd comfort me. Richard was there, Jake and Mia too. They hovered, worried, and Mom reassured them, her voice soft. I waited for a moment alone with her, to talk, to connect. But when the kids left to get food, she turned to me and said, you should go home, Laura. We're okay here. Her words weren't mean, but they cut. She didn't need me. I drove home, tears blurring the road. Rain started, heavy, mirroring the storm inside. I pulled over, sobbing, the weight of years spilling out. Why was I always second to her new family? Why didn't she see my hurt? At my apartment, I sat in the dark, replaying our life. The laughter, the park days, then the slow drift. I wanted to be angry, to call her and demand answers. But I didn't. I just sat, letting the pain wash over me. The next day, I visited our old house, now empty again. I walked through the rooms, touching the walls where we'd hung drawings. In the kitchen, I found her old teacup, chipped but hers. I held it, and something shifted. I didn't want to carry the hurt anymore. I forgave her, not because she asked, but because I needed peace. Transition. Piano returns, slow and reflective. Imagery. An empty house, a chipped teacup, rain slowing to a drizzle. Forgiving Mom didn't fix everything. I didn't tell her. She wouldn't have understood. Instead, I changed how I approached her. I called less, expected less, but showed up when it mattered. Her birthday, I brought a cake, sat with Jake and Mia, laughed at their stories. Mom smiled, and for the first time in years, I felt okay being there, not needing more. I built my own life. Teaching filled my days. Kids' laughter, their small victories. I joined a book club, made friends who became family. Weekends, I hiked, read, found joy in small things. The ache for Mom faded, not gone but softer. She noticed the change. One day over lunch, just us, she said, "You seem happy, Laura." I nodded, didn't explain. We talked about her garden, my classroom, simple things. It wasn't deep, but it was enough. Holidays became easier. I'd join their big dinners, bring a pie, play with Jake and Mia. Mom hugged me longer, her eyes searching mine. I wondered if she sensed my forgiveness, but I never asked. Years passed. Mom aged, her hands shakier. I helped more. Doctor visits, grocery runs. Richard thanked me, said, "You're a good daughter." I smiled, knowing I'd found my own strength. One evening at her house, we sat on the porch, sipping tea. The air smelled of jasmine, the sky pink with sunset. "I'm proud of you," she said, her voice quiet. I squeezed her hand, tears in my eyes. I didn't need her to know why I forgave her. I just needed her to know I loved her. Transition. Strings warm, piano lifts gently. Imagery, a porch swing, 2 teacups, a fading sunset. Forgiving Mom was my quiet rebellion against pain. I let go of the hurt, not for her, but for me. It taught me that love doesn't need explanations or apologies. It just needs room to breathe. We're okay now, Mom and I. Not the same as when I was a kid, chasing butterflies while she watched. But we have moments. Tea on the porch, her laugh at my stories, that feel like home. The lesson is simple. Forgiveness isn't about fixing the past. It's about freeing yourself to live. I found peace, and that's enough. Transition. Music swells softly, then fades. Imagery, a dandelion seed floating away, a warm porch light, a quiet smile.